DJ KTONE, Digital Online Showcase. We have an open dialogue today. My co-host, SQUIZZY Taylor couldn't make it today. So it's just me. And I have three lovely ladies today. We're going to get the female perspective on a lot of things. To my right, Dr. Natalie Lewis. I have Nakira Doss, a.k.a. Kira TKO, a.k.a. K Rivera.
What's happening?
In the building. We're going to talk about the new name, K Rivera. We'll talk about that later on. And my girlfriend, Miss Manhatan, the promo queen.
Promo queen.
In the building. First of all, ladies, real quick, I want y'all to introduce yourselves and kind of what you do for a living before we even get started. Natalie?
All right, my name is Dr. Natalie Lewis. As KTONE said, I am a principal of a middle school here in Denver, as well as a researcher.
Nice. My name is Nakira Doss. By day, I am a payroll accountant, a senior payroll accountant for Pursuit Collection, and by day as well sometimes, and night, I am Kira TKO, K Rivera, singer-songwriter. I would consider myself an activist as well. And yes, thank you for having me.
Definitely.
And I am Ms. Manhattan, the promo queen. I do promotions in all forms, get you ready for promotions, music, artist, business, nonprofits, DJs, clothing products. I get the word out. I am the promo queen.
Definitely get the word out. Turning up, for sure.
Always.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. First of all, I want to say, if you are on here, tag some friends, tag some people who need to see this.
Tag them.
Share our network page, AHRR page, and share the link. Share the link. We've been doing this for a couple weeks. You know, we usually on the show premiere music, play new music, but you know, just everything that's been going on the past 3 or 4 weeks, we just decided to change it up and just have open dialogue and conversation about, you know, issues that's going on in the world. And we really haven't had, we had Danae Simone last week. Shout out to Danae Simone. But
what up, Danae?
We really haven't had too many women and hear, you know, the women's perspective. So that's why I felt it was important to, you know, to do that. And I felt you guys are a great collective of women to help us with that. And first question I really want to know is, how do you guys feel about being a black woman in America right now? You know, I mean, the positives, the negatives. You know, I want to hear from each of you, whoever wants to start.
I guess I'll start.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't want to be like a Debbie Downer, like sad, but it is what it is, right? I feel like there's always this comparison conversation of like who has it worse in America, black men or black women. That's
been the debate.
Now, my honest opinion is it's black men.
Okay.
But I feel like black women are often, more times than not, neglected, forgotten. You see it a lot in the conversation with Breonna Taylor. Like, how are we not raving and ranting about Breonna Taylor just as much as we are George Floyd? And that's not even like speculation, like clearly based off of the media coverage, what you see on your timeline. Breonna Taylor is slipped through the cracks, and that's even more egregious than I feel like George Floyd, because she's sleeping in her home on a no-knock warrant where they already arrested the person who they had the no-knock warrant for. Right. It's just crazy. So I feel like we're neglected. Then I feel like we have, okay, so it's like a twofold thing. Black men feel like, I've seen overwhelmingly from black men that black women don't support black men.
Right.
And a part of me was like, what are y'all talking about? Like, I support, you support, you know what I'm saying? Then I kind of started going down my timeline and seeing, like, there's a lot of black women who are dogging dudes out, like, because of their own personal experiences in your messed up relationship. And that's not, like, excluding me. Like, I'm divorced. I've had a bad relationship after that. But I can't take that and make this generalization about black men. So I feel like because that's the narrative that's often out there, then black women are often even more so neglected because black men feel like we don't support them.
Right.
We oftentimes, luckily the network of people we're in, we don't feel neglected because when we go out, it's people we directly know. I know my people got my back. But as a general whole, I don't necessarily feel super protected to be able to just be out here liberally saying what I really want to say. You see what I'm saying?
So you feel black men don't feel supported, black women don't feel protected.
Period.
For the most part.
For the most part. I'm not just saying that just to be controversial. I really feel like as a black woman, we need more support. And I feel like we've always been the front line for the black cause. Like always. And it looks different for everybody. Like I'm not down at the protest because I feel like that puts me at a certain risk for the COVID. It puts me at risk because cops is just out here doing random stuff. And then you got the white people coming and doing stuff that's actually getting us more backlash. So I've chose to take my resistance online and, you know, come to stuff like this to voice my opinion where I feel safe in doing so. But what else can I do? Because I feel like I'm not doing enough. I'll say that.
Okay. How you feel, Manhatan?
So, and then I'm on the flip of that to where I do understand that backlash of it, but I feel empowered and blessed because this is something I didn't get to choose. So I know that a lot of people, they go and do a lot just to look darker. So to be a black woman, it's like, I'm blessed.
Yeah.
And so I have power within that as well, and standing on that and truly using all those platforms because that's what I am. I can't run from that in any shape, form, or fashion. So if I'm that, then let me produce what I want to see more of in this world. So like you said, I'm not at the protest, but I'm on the front line on the other end, and I believe self is important, and a lot of people out there, self is not healed, and they're just I feel like 75% isn't even out there for the cause. It's just like, I'm tired of being in the house.
Right. You're right.
So I know there's going to be some people out, and I'm trying to go turn that. And like you said, so for many reasons, for me, that's not my standpoint. And I don't feel like I'm less of a black woman because that's not the line that I stand on. I still feel empowered on making sure I stand on the end where I stand and making sure home is right, because at the end of the day, I still produce a seed that's going to be out there in the world. And so that's my front line that I'm gonna always stand on, and that's what matters. And the one that's around my circle.
Definitely.
I would say, you know, education is something that's super important to me, and like I have a master's degree in Black Studies, which is the study of Black people throughout the world, and it's something that is like the forefront of everything that I do, and all of my work is how does this impact Black people, what happens from the experience. And I think this is not a first time Black people have confronted this conversation. It has continually been the conversation between Black men and Black women since their transition to the United States in this new world. And I think it's an intentional conversation that's been placed to pit us against one another. And I think that if we, I think it's a no-win situation when you're saying who has it worse, because if you, why is that the battle? Why are we even discussing that? We should be talking about how are we all impacted, right? And so I think that to your point of what you just brought out around Breonna Taylor, is that Breonna Taylor is one example of Black women who have also been killed by police. And so if we only have conversations around Black men being killed by police and not Black women, then we're not doing justice to the fact that Black people are dying in the streets. And when we say Black Lives Matter, we mean all Black bodies, right? And so I think that that is, you know, and I feel you, sister, all day. Like, I don't think there's anything like a Black woman, as I don't think there's anything like a Black man, right? And so, and it's a blessing. And how many ways can we augment, or do people augment their bodies to look like us in whatever that capacity? And so I think that this battle of, you know, what happens, what doesn't happen is real for all of us. You know, like last weekend I drove to St. Louis from Denver to exchange my daughters, and I'm leaving at like 6:30 at night, which means that I'm going through night, through Kansas, through Missouri, and the safety, you see, you know, a patrol car pulled up behind me and the fear dropped in the pit of my stomach. Like, so when you talk about like the fear, if there is fear around our safety, that's a safety that all of us feel. And so I just think that this like continual battle where we're trying to put us against one another, you know, like I don't have sons, but I have daughters, and you know, the institution of slavery allowed for legalized rape of Black women's bodies. And so when we talk about these stories in like siloed, you know, like we're not talking about the other parts of it, then we miss something completely. And we just don't do justice to the fact that like, as Black people, let's talk about how we can come together. Our stories, whose is worse, what's the
so I have a question.
Why do we
for
do
you.
that?
My question for you is this, because if we get back to like, I'm not sure, and you probably would know this because that's your field of study in college, right? I'm not sure the line of when the black family, like the dismantling of the black family, the welfare to make black women dependent upon the government, and we got kids in most cases to take care of. So we're gonna swap, hey, nigga, right? You out here doing whatever. This government is about to give me food and shelter and this, right? So with the dismantle of the black family, like still feel like even today, that's like another major hurdle, right? Child support and all those conversations, like those type of things are like the blockage between a black man and a black woman.
But I think that what you're saying is exactly that. I mean, that's the legacy of slavery and enslavement is real. And that started in enslavement, where this pitting against, right, of I mean, the reality of like legalized rape, which is what enslavement was. I have a white master has power over black women's bodies, and there's nothing that a black man who is husband, father, son, whatever can do to protect. So those elements like are existing. Then you go to the welfare state where you have U.S. senators who create welfare policy that says where black men were living in houses with their women, right? Like, nope, you got to go in order for this to happen, right? In order to get paid, and it's the same thing. And so I think that when we talk about the systems, that brokenness is like, let's talk about that. But if we keep battling around whose story's worse, we're pointing fingers at the wrong enemy, you know, or tackling the wrong thing. And I think that that's part of the issue, and it's systemic. It was designed that way.
So I feel like that's a hurdle within the black community that we absolutely need to put immediate urgency. Like if your house isn't divided, not to get biblical, a house divided against itself cannot stand. So that's why we're not bringing the full power to the equation, right? Because as the lightest person in the room, like you were saying, you feel so proud to be black and this and that and another. Like, I question myself on that because I don't feel like it's reciprocated in my community. As a light-skinned woman, you question my blackness. I'm not black enough, right? And that goes back to what we're talking about, the legalized rape. I'm not light-skinned, like my lineage, maybe not directly my grandmother or her mother or her grandmother, right? We're light because of that rape, right? So, but I'm less black, right? And I'm a strong black woman, but other sisters in my community, quiet as it's kept, don't think I'm that. So we have so many like variables that I feel like we gotta tackle this, and those who are willing to be open and honest, we can make that headway. But then there's people who are not. Like, how do we overcome that?
But then why can't we talk about, why are we not educating ourselves, however we educate ourselves, to that story, right? Both of my daughters are the same color as you, one got green eyes.
Right.
Her name is Nile, right? And it was intentional. Like, you so black, your name is not.
Right.
I wish somebody would. Right.
That's what's
and
up.
So I think that there are elements that, why do we not educate ourselves in that story?
Right.
You know what I mean? We take whatever the latest headline is, and then that becomes sensationalized, and we use it as fuel against one another. Like, there are spaces we can go to, and if there aren't, then we should be talking about how do we create those spaces where we can begin to learn more about who we are and have open and honest conversations. And look at the sister girls who are saying you ain't black.
And I know that's a two-way street, right? I don't want to play the victim because I know I've had these conversations with my in-laws. All of my nieces and nephews are darker kids. My kids are the lighter of them, right? And I had those conversations with my family. Nakira, you don't think you've had privilege because you're lighter? And in my mind, I'm like, no. Because they look at me like a nigga just like they do you. But y'all think I have privilege from that. And if that's the case, then let's talk about it. But I understand that there's like a difference, at least amongst black people, of that treatment, right? So, I don't know. I do think that that's something that we need to touch on, and whether it's having conferences or something to like get with each other.
How do we get back to that? Like you said, you know, you said people need to educate themselves, but I mean, some people just don't know. They just don't know. They don't even know the direction to go. So I mean, even by you being in education, I mean, what do you feel is the next step to get to that?
I think we gotta stop looking to other people to solve our stuff.
Absolutely.
And so when we have these conversations, you know, if we wanted to just go into the black man versus black woman conversation, if I only hear this, and the moment you're like, but Natalie, black men, I'm like, but wait a minute, black women. That's the beginning part of the conversation. Yeah, right. And I think that we miss that because we feel like we have to go into this either or space. We don't come from either or people, we and inclusive. And so why do we keep taking belief systems that aren't ours to keep trying to battle each other?
Do you think that could be done in tandem with, so you got white supremacy and us dying at the hands of white cops and white people in general. Do you think we can handle our in-house issues in tandem with that, or it has to be like, this got to be handled and then that?
I think that this is a perfect moment, right? Because you have black men and black women who are dying because of white supremacy, because of police brutality. Why do we take an argument or like a part of this and say our brothers is dying without talking about the sisters that are dying? Like here is a time to say we are dying. Let's come together to start to unpack that.
Yeah. Okay, so we changed the narrative. What do we instill in our in our children specifically? How do we start breaking those cycles with them?
Right, because my oldest is beginning to drive, and even with that, the conversation I knew I had to have was how you handle these situations accordingly. And I don't care how old, I'm 99, you call me anytime that you get stopped by the police. But the fact that I check myself, like, it's crazy that that's the conversations I have to have with my son, and things that go on. Black kids are excited about fast money and things like this. So no, don't be involved with this. You look like this just because you stand out. Yeah. So I don't know. I just do it because to me it's best to be transparent of real of what it is. But to also tell them don't shy down.
Have you asked your son? Like I recently asked Dominic. Our sons are friends, right? So I've asked Dominic recently, and I was actually kind of shocked. Like, how do you feel? Because my son goes out with my nephew. They live like 5 minutes away from us. So after online school was done, my nephew would come over on his bike with his homeboy. They would come grab Dominic, and Dominic's the only boy in the house. We got all these women. I'm like, go ahead with your cousin and do whatever. It was hard on that first time for me to let my 12-year-old son ride his bike in the neighborhood that he has ownership in. And then I asked him, Dominic, how do you feel like when you go out here? Like, do you feel scared? Do you feel safe? And it actually kind of bothered me that he said he felt safe. Oh, we gotta have a whole nother conversation, because why? Not that I want you to be scared, but that means that you're not fully aware of what's happening around you. And maybe I don't even feel like I've sheltered my kids from that. They see, they know, they hear me talk about it. They hear about my Facebook posts. So I was just kind of confused at why my son said he felt safe. Like just little simple stuff that I've told him you can't do. I remember I was taking my daughter, they were going to their first, pre-freshman year high school, like summer activities. And we was trying to teach them how to catch the bus to the high school, right? And my nephew jumped and hit the stop sign on the bus stop. And I'm like, look, y'all can't be out. It's crazy. Y'all can't be out here doing that. You know what I'm saying? Because if a cop riding by and see you slap the stop sign, this could be a thing, right? So it's just crazy because, like you said, we have to have these little conversations about stuff that's normal teenage kid behavior or whatever that could cost you your life. And I try to make sure my kids know you're not special, light, dark, otherwise. You're not special. They will stop you if they have the opportunity and you run into the right one. Right? And it's just sad because I feel like our generation, and I don't know how old you are, and I don't even need you to say that, but I feel like we're close in age, right? Like, I don't feel like I went through a lot of racism personally in my high school, right? Like, I knew it existed. I know it happens. I've seen it happen to my mother. But I don't feel like it was like a thing that we experienced as much as our parents. But now I feel like our kids are like thrust into what like our grandparents had to deal with. And I don't know if I'm like I feel like I'm fully equipped, but it's kind of like, I don't know what to tell them, right?
I feel like it's like the environment you in, because years ago when I was younger, I wasn't that same one comfortable in my skin. I was like, everybody's lighter than me. Lighter is beautiful. That's what it is. So now I have two boys. One's dark, one's light. So it's like, and to make sure that battle doesn't go within between the home. Like, my curls is better than yours. We all got the same curls in this hair. Like, I'm y'all's mom. Like, what are you playing with? It's not you're black enough because now you're this type of color. But I don't know. It's something you grow into yourself, and knowing that I am good enough and making sure that they know that they are unique. I tell my kids that they're an endangered species.
For real.
Like,
for real.
They want you.
So for y'all two specifically, how do you, like, I know you just said you talk to your kids, about that, but like police interaction in particular, how do you talk? Have you had the conversation, or what do you say just about that and about survival?
It's crazy because these last couple videos, and I never want to err on the side of the oppressor, right? Like this video of dude in Georgia, the other video of the dude in Texas who got stopped for speeding like twice before this officer pulled him over. He was speeding. I don't know if he was under the influence. The video just came out, even though this happened in March. That officer, I felt like, tried his best not to shoot that dude. Like, he set him in the back of the car, offered him a mask while they waited for the tow truck. Like, and then dude just got out and tried to get in the cop's car and drive away his police car. He's wrestling with him. It's like a whole minute, you know, that's a long time. It don't seem like a long time, but a minute scuffling with somebody. Like, I felt like that cop tried his best not to shoot that dude in Texas. So when I talk to my son, right, the whole, which I don't think this is like a fail-safe, right? Like, comply, whatever. Clearly, George Floyd was complying. You know what I'm saying? Even though they try to spin the narrative like he was resisting, we saw all the 3 videos that came out clearly showing he was calm, sat down, all the whole thing, right? So I just try to, like, the comply part is the best we can do, right? Try not, and we're just an excitable people. You hear, I don't know, me, I'm an excitable person. I get, you know, kind of rowdy on a regular day over non-passionate issues. So you have to kind of train your kids to be, like, docile and, like, tame, because you don't want that to be misinterpreted as aggression, and that breaks my heart because that's not who we are as a people.
Definitely.
I think you need to train them to also just be aware of what can happen if you don't.
Right.
So I think compliance is one part of it, but like, this is a reality of your life if you don't, and that awareness I think is important. And I think that there is just a tendency in our lived experience to not share those parts with our kids because it's hard for us to talk about. It's scary, it's dangerous, it's terrifying, but like, if you don't do this, you can die. That's a different kind of conversation for any of us to have with our kids, rather than like it. I don't think it's just do what they say do, but like, be very, very aware of the danger that you can be in.
Yeah, it wasn't until, like, you hear the thing, like, police officers try to get black men specifically, right, to get a reaction. And I never, like, knew that was real until I remember my middle daughter was, like, 2 years old, and she used to have this pillow that she was dependent on. Like, it's not the blanket or whatever, it was the pillow. Her dad took the pillow away from her. She starts screaming at the top of her lungs. The neighbors called the cops, thinking that, you know, I think actually might have got a whooping from her dad. And I think the neighbors might have heard that, and then they called the cops. And then the cops came and they're asking if she's okay and blah, blah, blah. And we asked them, like, oh, is it illegal to, like, spank our kids? And they're like, no. But the other officer that's there with dude is purposely trying to, like, antagonize my ex-husband. Like, you're trying to get me upset because you want that reason, right? And it wasn't until that moment that I realized, like, and I was in my 20s at the time, like, dang, like, this really happens. Like, y'all are purposely trying to agitate these black men so that you can have the pass, because at that time, and until recent it seemed, that's a pass to just kill. Definitely. With no weapon, no nothing. And it's just like, it just breaks my heart, man. I just... Yeah.
So, you know, even though we've endured, you know, similar racism, you know, due to our grandparents, do y'all feel like, you know, our children and grandchildren will there be a void in, you know, extreme racism? Or, like, do you feel like they're, like you just brought it up earlier, where the grandparents, our grandparents, endured a certain level of racism, kind of skipped us. Yeah. And it will probably hit them, or it's hitting them right now. Yeah. I mean,
I don't know if it skipped us.
I was just going to say,
I think that the absence of social media and technology made us feel like it wasn't happening to that level.
But yeah, to that level. Like you said, I mean, like you said, we haven't really just, I mean, we've dealt with certain racism, but not to the extreme our grandparents.
Like when we were younger. Like now we're seeing it because we're adults, but when we were teenagers.
Yeah, we didn't really, or did you experience?
I feel like when I had different encounters with white people, it was blatant racism. And so like, and there wasn't a question to me of like, is this racism? It was from moments of like, no, that's racism.
Well, I mean, I think we've all dealt with a level of racism. Yeah, but like what we seeing today, and
was that
just even like recently, did you see the 2 brothers who got lynched in LA?
Yes.
Hung in LA recently, like yesterday.
But I think that's an important thing to talk about, is that because of social media, we see these things. It didn't mean that those things weren't happening. Right. Like I remember watching the LA riots and seeing Rodney King being beaten, right? Mm-hmm. Like that was our version of
that was like 7th, 8th grade.
Right, this is what I'm saying. So like that's in our lifetime. And I think that if we forget that this was happening, I think we see it now because of more social media and all these different things, but those moments were definitely happening. And I think it's our charge to be able to teach our kids of what those things were. You know, my parents are from the South. Like my father's from Mississippi, so I have two grandparents. I have grandparents who are from Mississippi, so I grew up going back and forth to Mississippi my whole life. So hearing stories and like being like real taught around what racism looked like, and they were like, man, Denver is lying racism. Now, at least if I'm in Mississippi, they gonna tell the truth about racism.
You know what it is.
But in Denver, people gonna cover it up and act like it's not. And so, for me, those kind of like awareness things, I think that that's an important thing. And so, when we talk about what does that look like for our kids, then when I went to a mostly white college, right? There's 53 black people on my college campus, and so I saw white people be racist all the time and like painfully racist, where I'm going home crying from class because stuff was happening. So I think that those kinds of things, you know, you went to a HBCU, which might have been like a different experience, or where you grew, you know, you have different kinds of experiences. But I think white people are now joining in the argument to tear down like the white supremacy and to destroy those. Like, I feel like that's what this discussion is right now, and they weren't saying that before.
So it comes in many forms. Because now recently, unfortunately, I have seen my seed have to deal with the police in the different forms of when it comes. Knowing that this is some BS that my child is going through, but really seeing my 12-year-old being read his Miranda rights, and we go in, and out of all these kids in the school, the only ones who got a charge is the kids of color and Mexican and black girls and Indian kids. Like, but wait, what's really going on? And so I understand the fact that you teach your kids a certain of comply, but when they went in was like, this is what we want to do. We're going to give a deferred, and he doesn't do nothing. Like, no, this is a trap, so we ain't complying today.
Right.
So we might be the only ones in the court that say, well, we'll see you in court.
Right.
Because that's kind of where that seed starts. So then that name is already set, and anytime you have an encounter, you, like you said, might be out arguing or having fun, and it looks aggressive, and your name is attached to something. So no, we're gonna make sure that we don't.
So that's a good point as an educator. Well, you're a principal, right? Like my kids went to DDS for middle school. Started off as a predominantly white school in Stapleton. Shout out to Tay Anderson, who's got that changing, about to re-change the name or whatever, according to Brother Jet. But, right, like, the over-disciplining of minority children, I never experienced that until I got into Stapleton, right?
But that's the part where I'm saying that's been the system. When we talk about what blatant racism looks like, it went into schools instantly. So like, you may not see people hanging from the tree, but you seeing black boys and Latino boys in the office and kicked out of class and then going to, like that directly, as an educator, that's directly what it looked like. And so I think that like the ways you do, what you said is like spot on, you got me fired up. When you talk about how this is changing form, now it is manifested in all these different ways. That didn't mean it went away. And in schools in particular, that's a breeding ground for that space.
So what you're saying is those are the conversations I have with my kids. From the time they were in like 5th grade, you know, a little bit before that, they're so young that, you know, they're not really aware of how their behaviors impact their future. But by the time you get 4th, 5th grade, I started specifically my son. Like, you can't afford to just do normal kid stuff, as unfortunate as that is. You're a little black boy. They're already waiting for you to mess up. And as soon as you do that, this is on paper. So when you go from here, it's going into middle school, and then when you leave middle school, it's going to high. They're tracking this.
And then what looks like a mess up, though, because when you don't know how to handle a certain type of child and you're not really a teacher and you're there for a check, then everything gets kind of thrown under the bus, and it's like, oh, well, that's ADHD. Let me go ahead and throw you some medicine.
And it's your kids that control. And I don't think necessarily people are just doing it for the check, but it's a big cultural mismatch.
Exactly.
So like when I'm the ways we talk at home and we function, and not even just as home, it's like culturally, right? We're louder, you're excitable, you know, like we're communal, we want to do all this. Where you get in a classroom where you're in front of white teachers who operate in their white mindsets and the ways that they function, they don't understand that. So things get in like, oh, he's being disrespectful. Well, are you thinking like there's one thing of like as in education where it's like, you know, white teachers typically can approach things and be like, well, I'm the authority because I'm the teacher, right? A black teacher is like, I am the authority, I'm the teacher, sit down. It's a different kind of, and that's that cultural mismatch. So when you're
as an educator, can you tell me, because my middle child is the most like sweetest, calm. She don't start no stuff. She chill, right? She used to be like really untrusting of anybody new. If you weren't her family member, she's losing her mind. So when she went to kindergarten, she freaked out. I left her there. That was like tragic for me. Like, oh my God, you don't trust where you're at. And as a mom, I feel like terrified for you, even though you're safe, right? So as an educator, have you seen or have there been discussions about those cultural barriers? Because her teacher at that time was like a 23-year-old white girl. Talking, right, you're super young. You haven't probably interacted with black children ever prior to now. Maybe in college, that don't count. These are children, right? She would call us and be like terrified. We come up to the school like, hey, sit down. My brother-in-law came to, this is kindergarten, 5.
Right.
You don't know how to talk to my kid. She's not used to the Disneyland fairy tale teacher. Her parents don't talk to her like that. She wouldn't even try this at home ever. So when we come in and set the boundary and set the stance, she's looking like, yeah, man, like, so is there training at all that's done?
Yeah, I mean, but there is training, but nationally, 80% of teachers are white women, young white women.
Scary.
And so you have, that's the national trend. And so you have people who are, I mean, it's everywhere. You're training, you're doing all you can. But if I come in, I'm the black mama, and I treat all my students like they my children, right?
Yeah.
And so sit down. I'm not playing with you.
So have you had those parents?
But when you
freak out because you're that way. But I worked in a daycare and a lady lost her mind.
I'm real transparent with my family. It's like, this is who I am.
This is what it is.
But when you see a white teacher who sees a mother, black mother, typically come into a building like that, that throws people off because that's not what mothering looks like. And so you have all these different kinds of trainings. It's a lot of work. It's not an immediate.
So is it just not enough of us or of black women or men or whatever, like trying to get teaching jobs, or are they just not getting them? Or
no one's going into teaching. That's the thing about teaching is that we have a huge cry for black teachers, but the field of teaching is diminishing. Like no one is going into the field because it's hard work, right? Black, white, whatever. No one's going into it. And so I think that the training is that if you are going to teach in a continuing diverse country and space, right? Most kids in schools are black and brown. Then you need to learn how to train in this way. So you got to think back to when your parents talked to you. What did you do? How did they sit down? What were the things that they said? Now compare that to when your black families come in, what they say. What are the differences? How does that make you feel? You got to sit in that. Right. But if you don't ever face that or have those kinds of things, and depending on what school you're in, where you're at, you can't really have the levels of what that conversation looks like, and if people feel uncomfortable. So I think the progress of tearing down white supremacy makes it so that you have to talk about these kinds of things, because before that you wouldn't have to, because your way is the way that we want to function in.
Have you always taught in been a principal or worked in the realm of middle school?
I started as a middle school teacher.
I was going to ask you, because I've heard from my educator
DC
friends.
Elementary school.
One of my friends was the AP at DDS, and she had been at DDS even when she was an educator and not the AP. But she actually was a teacher at my kid's elementary school, and then when she made that transition, it was super hard.
Elementary and middle's a hard transition. Middle school kids, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, and I feel like high school is
right, because they're trying to get their own stuff, but they doing all hormonal changes and all this stuff is happening, and that's hard to just navigate. So not everybody can be a middle school person because of that kind of age, but I think that element is happening from elementary school.
I was saying, knowing your kids, because I've been and went in and requested, all right, well, I know he ain't gonna do well with you. He gonna raise you over.
Right.
I'm gonna need that one.
That means you gotta be present.
So what would you suggest?
Let them show up. You gotta be. No, this is not gonna work. So I know this is not gonna work. Just
what would you suggest as the principal? Because I would say the one thing that I've had a gripe with, right? As a principal, as a black woman, as a black parent, if your kid's cutting up, the school's gonna call you. And if you're an involved parent who holds your kids accountable, usually your kids already know, come on, so when the school calls me, I'm gonna come up, y'all want me to come up there, but then I feel like that's counterintuitive. I know if I come up there, this is not about to happen. Definitely. So as an educator, principal, what is your suggestion? Because kids are always testing boundaries. Maybe by high school they figure out okay, I can't do this. But in middle school specifically, what is your suggestion for parents because a lot of our kids are just being kids, right? And I'm like, I'll come up there, but Dominic's not going to do this if I come up there. What is your suggestion for handling that?
Be involved. The more families that get involved and show up to schools, come to family nights where you sit down, you know, they always have these principal coffees where you sit down and talk to principals. Make sure that people they see you. Right. You are part of the decision making in the building.
So if you are that parent, what's your suggestion? Because that is me. I show up for all the volunteer. I show up for
you got to get more of us to come in.
Done that too.
But
I was just gonna say,
because if we're not in there, you're as a black principal, right? I'm going to be advocating and working on behalf of black and brown kids. That's why I do the work that I do.
And I guess
But if I'm trying to do it on one side and I'm doing all these trainings for my teachers,
right? But
then there's no families
involvement.
who are involved, or there are limited families that are involved.
Yeah.
There's only so much of a conversation because then it's like, oh, Natalie, that's just you talking. Right? It's not like you have to have. It needs to be. There's so much.
I am surprised at the amount of parents that involve parents who's at everything. I am surprised for all the gripes we have as black people with kids. When it comes down to coming to the meeting, coming to the conference, coming to whatever, there's not that many of us.
Why is that?
I was just going to say, it depends. I ain't going to lie. Now, so when it comes to a conference and to sit down with a teacher with middle school, the biggest... She's one teacher of a class of all the 5 teachers he got to go to today. So I'm going to those all the way. But some of the extra little stuff, I'm not.
I think that,
is it really little though? I think
that's it. So then I think this is why at schools, I also think you got to make sure that sometimes you offer something in the morning, sometimes you offer it at night. But if I only offer it in the morning, I know what kind of parents are going to show up, right? So that's an intentional thing. So you're trying to figure out what that sweet spot is. Yeah. So it's not that you have to come all the time. But I'm like, get your homegirl, get your friend, your kids' friends. Show up. Make sure somebody shows up to be present for that. If it's not you, like how can we communally say, there's certain things I can't, I can't do. I'm a single mother of 2 daughters. I can't be involved in all of those things,
parents, like, this is what works best for me. So you reach out on me. Here's my text. Here's my email. You can call. There's nothing because I might not be able to move a certain way. I know the support that I have, but this is what's important for me, for my kids to know what's going on. I'm not. They're gonna have that phone. Let me know before. I always tell them, let me know before they call, because I know some things can be twisted, but I know you.
I feel like there's been like a conditioning of educators, right? Because based off, I have a 15-year-old, so I've been in the educational system at least 10 years, right? Like if you don't count the 5 years to kindergarten. And I feel like the teachers, specifically the white teachers, have been conditioned by their experience with, and it's bad because I don't want to say black parents don't care, but based on the feedback I've gotten from my kids' teachers, when they call me, luckily, thank God I've had jobs that don't trip because I do my job well, I'm there. So if I got to cut out because my kid was clowning, they're not really tripping, right? But their teachers are floored that I stopped work and showed up. And I know everybody can't do that. So again, I want to preface that with that's not a judgment, thing. But one teacher was like, I call parents and tell parents their kids fought, their kid did this. They never call me back. They never come up here. And I was kind of floored because at the end of the day, I don't feel like my kids are safe in this white education system. So I'm like, why are y'all so comfortable leaving y'all kids in the hands of a lot of these places that don't care about your kid?
I think it's a variety of reasons, right?
But my kid also said that, playing on that, like, my mom's a single mom. She works real far. She lies. They taught her.
But then you're also like, if you are only calling to talk about my son or daughter and tell negative stuff, I don't want to talk to you. Because you don't care, love my baby the way I do. So I don't value what you say. So I think there's a lot of different reasons why people do it. But I do think that there's like a partnership because I can't always make it to the meeting. But I know that you're going to go to the meeting, and because I know you're going to talk about these kinds of things, and then you're going to come back and talk to me, and then we'll trade off. That system, that network amongst like black families, brown families, and black families in particular, is not there in schools, and it's such an important vital part.
To every black person watching.
Hold that. Because I want to continue on that. We got to take a break real quick. But no, remember what you was going to say.
I will.
Because I want to talk more about the education system for the kids. We're going to take a break. Digital Online Showcase. We're going to be right back. Don't go nowhere. Mind Showcase, DJ KTONE. I got Dr. Natalie Lewis, K. Rivera, and Miss Manhattan. We were talking about, the kids in the school systems and education, and you was gonna say something.
I was gonna say something specifically to anybody who's a parent that's listening. From the time that my kids were in elementary school, again, there's this trust factor, right? I don't trust, and I'm gonna be 100. When there's black people present, my principal of my kids' elementary school, black lady. The dean, black lady. So I felt real confident going in that situation. Right. Why? Because I established a relationship out the gate. And parents, I need you to understand how critical that is. And this is a simple, every school year, go online, because there's a list online on the school's website of all the teachers. Right. And most decent schools have their teachers' emails, have the teachers' phone numbers, and it's actually very simple. I take a message, I create in a Microsoft Word document. Oh my gosh, there's a spider. I'm trying not to be childish.
Get it now. I can't do it.
They have the teacher's email, right? I take the schedule that the school sends you, telling you these are all your kids' classes, this is their teacher. Right. I create one email. I put all the teachers' emails in the BCC. I blind copy it. A very general, generic, hi, I'm Miss Doss. I'm Breon Doss's mom. She is an 8th grade, whatever the grade is. Thank you, Tux. You're the best. This is my expectation from my child. This is how she's been raised. She is to say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, whatever, all those things, whatever it is for you. This is what I expect of my child. I am a partner with you as a teacher, because it's not your job to teach my kids certain morals and values and stuff like that, right? It is, but you're supposed to be the reinforcer technically. So I tell them, this is what I expect. If you ever have a problem, please contact me. I can be reached here, text, email, whatever's best for you. But then I also say, I would also love to hear when things are fantastic, because as a parent, I don't want to hear every time my kid did bad, but they ain't doing nothing good. So teachers, you have to know how to leverage that. If my kid happen to be doing bad, just know I'm the direct line that's going to get you results way faster than anything you about to do in that classroom. So parents, you have to make that initial connection. And I'm surprised at actually how many teachers didn't respond this year when my daughter went to high school. 2 out of her 8 teachers actually responded to me, and the 3rd responded after I was like, oh, I sent you my message and you never said nothing back. Oh, I thought that was like a general, we're a relationship building, right? So I was shocked at how many teachers don't understand the relationship building aspect. You want the respect of these brown and black kids, you want this and that, but you're not building a foundation with that child as an educator, and you don't realize how beneficial as an educator that is to you to build that connection. Your classroom could flow like a breeze if you took that time. So parents, I said all that long-winded stuff to say, please contact your kids' teachers. Please leverage that. Because also now that they're in high school, like I'm telling my daughter, I already checked with the teacher. She said if you get a bad grade on this and that, she said you could resubmit it. You got to take advantage of that. You got to hold your kids accountable just as much as you're holding the teacher accountable.
Definitely. I mean, I'll do something similar. I don't go to the extent of creating an email but I show up. I show up as a first of all as a father though, because I know it's not many, but I meet all the teachers. I give them my card. I give my info and say if there's any issues, any problems, whatever, reach out. But not only problems, like you said though. Let me know when he's doing good. Let me know that and they do. They do. They text me. Mainly Kyron. My middle school. Kyron has such a great day today, and I appreciate, you know what I mean?
Yeah, as a parent, when you see that school phone number come up, depending on the kid it is, because you know your kids. Come on, parents, you know your kids. I have some great children, but don't get it twisted. I know them.
Kids will be kids.
I know them, and so when certain kid gets a call, I usually see the school number and know, oh my God, are they calling me about so-and-so? And there's been times where I prep myself for that. And then it was like, oh no, actually you did fantastic today. It was like, yes.
And I'll do that, and I'll do that a lot. You know what I'm saying? And they'll call me like, well, no, he actually did good today. But they'll call me too, and they'll call on some BS.
It's like, some petty little stuff.
BS. But I think they get comfortable, which I'm okay with as long as they're communicating. And
the over communicating on the negative, like the little petty stuff, Tona.
But some of the stuff I asked the teacher, like you couldn't deal with that.
That's what I'm saying.
That's why they're calling you.
Yes, they can.
No,
why not? I'm confused. Please elaborate.
No.
That's when I be transparent.
They can't. What do you mean they can't?
They can't.
Why?
Because there are parts of this that you talk about, like the culture of racism that they're just fear associated with
Okay.
particular things.
Okay, let me say that this
So,
was
like-
black teachers that was doing this with my son. This wasn't white teachers.
Well, yeah, mine.
But I think that there is like, I mean, as a principal, as a school
Right.
leader, I've been a school leader since year 7. I have to have conversations where we script out conversations with teachers. You're gonna say this. Let's role play it with me first, and I'm gonna go all the way sister girl. So
That's awesome.
And it's because I'm gonna show you how this
We
is,
about to do.
Don't let these degrees in this job
Yeah,
fool you,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
We're gonna practice it in that way, so you get comfortable, and you're gonna get nervous, and it's gonna make you uncomfortable, and then relax. But it takes a time to practice that. So even when it's regard to classroom management, things that seem petty in a room full of kids,
And you got 18 other kids or
that
whatever
are
that's
30
doing the
kids
same
that are
thing.
doing
I
the
feel
same
you.
thing.
I feel
It's
you.
not just one thing. It's like as a person who's receiving that
So
one
now I
thing,
feel bad.
it's
Because,
like,
now I feel bad.
it's a
Now
lot.
I feel bad because there was a particular, like I said, this was actually a black male elder teacher to my son. Now you know I'm that mom. I already told you straight up, like if he's doing this or whatever, call me, whatever. I already said the lengths I will go. Now after that conversation, we've had several, right? My kid is the class clown. Let's preface that. He likes to just, clown. You called me after a few thoughts, and I had just started my new job. You know how the moms are when they just started a new job. I don't got time to take a break to call you. You know what I'm saying? So after a few phone calls, now in hindsight, when you're saying that, and I know that, like I was a parent, 19, fresh out of high school. For third graders back before it got real crazy and kids had access to the internet and all this other stuff. And they was talking about virginity in third grade. So I get it, right? You have all these kids. It's not just your kid. You're trying to manage a classroom. And this is why I get on my kids a lot. You can't be that kid. Because your teacher's already trying to manage 30 or however many other kids. It's going to piss me off because I know you know better. And you know you about to be held accountable, right? But I'm just like, in a couple cases where he called me, I was really, like Tona said, I'm like, for real? Like, I'm downtown Denver. I catch the train to work. What would you like for me to do? Because Dominic wouldn't sit down. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just didn't know what to say. Now, I'm not saying my kid is right. If I came up in there, Dominic would be in his seat, right? So I'm not taking away that he did something wrong. But what is calling me right now, though, about to do? It just frustrates me because now I'm embarrassed. And that's a whole nother thing, right? I'm embarrassed because my kid knows better. And I'm frustrated because I'm like, what am I going to do? Right now, nothing, sir. So now I feel bad that I kind of told him that, like, sir, what do you want me to do? I can't do nothing.
But I like you said, though, I mean, just thinking about it now, I think it does get overwhelming.
Yeah.
For the teachers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
So do we gather? So then I'm like, for our
For sure.
people. So then we gather all the ones that do care, and we put them in the school to make sure that all of our kids from elementary all the way to high school and college is good, because the focus is that we really don't have no unity within ourselves and trust ourselves to raise our children.
But do
and
we
have
do?
other people like, it's like, oh, I'd rather my kid go to this Cherry Creek school because I know this DPS right here with these. But it might have one or two good black people in there that's going to give. But I know everybody else is going to be a drowning baby.
We ain't even going to talk about how they do the one or two good black people in DPS, because Danielle Ashibu is my friend, mother of the best friend of my daughter. And I see how they did Danielle Ashibu with GPS. So just because you have the black teachers in the school, that don't even mean, because them are the ones they fight against the most, because they have the rapport with the kids and they're making change. And these white people or in DPS don't want that. So you're in DPS, right? What is your perspective of how the black and brown educators in DPS have been treated?
Or how we
if
get a
you are
school for
aware?
us.
Right.
That is really
That's
fundable. That is like, because I've seen schools try to come and they, even though they have good intention and heart and they're trying, but the systematic is tearing it down already, and then they're not prepared, and then there's still not enough support. So where do we get for us?
I would ask this to your question. I think there's two parts. One, we need to make sure that the schools that we think are the schools are the right ones.
Because we go for opportunity.
So what we demand and ask of our leaders and teachers, we need to make sure that's the right stuff.
Okay.
And I don't think that's always the case. And so I think that's an important part. I also think that, like, I do think we need to go and take a more community approach. You know, like, you're like, so let me take my kids and make sure my kids
No, that's real.
kids that want to learn.
Yeah.
I don't think we can do that. There's too much at stake for us to leave a whole set of us behind. And so I think that we've got to figure out how do we come together and have spaces where we can talk about it? Like as an educator, I love sitting around talking about to families, and I wish more families would come into my building so we could let's talk about how you can advocate for your child. I'm doing my part. We're all going to do our part. You do your part. That's the kind of conversations I wish we could have more of. And so I think having those kind of conversations, and then pulling some people to what's their expression, to the curb, to say, what are you doing?
Right.
We don't do that with each other, and we know we see ourselves doing stuff that are like, why would you do that?
Where do you think the lapse went, right? Because how we were raised, I went to a whole daycare ran by an older black woman, and she could beat me, even though she wasn't a family member of mine, right? And not saying that people should have rights to whoop other people's kids, but neighbors, black neighbors, there was a community, right? And I feel like that's lacking. I can't, if Manhattan's kid is cutting up, and I don't technically know her like that, and I see her kid, even I'm at the school football game, and he cussing, like, if I don't directly have that rapport with that kid and have that established relationship, your mom's about to try to fight me because I try to correct you. So that's what's lacking.
But that's what I'm saying. Then I think that's where we need to be as a community. Why? How many kids we are all adults when we're out, and kids is actually, the stuff they say out of their mouth is over the top, right?
Can't believe.
Why can't we be a part of a community in which, what are you doing? Like, why are you saying that? Right. You didn't see me, my grown self walk by?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right, like it's that kind of stuff that I hear
all the time in the neighborhood, and like in the store. Nah, you can't.
So this is how this could go. I was at my daughter's basketball game over at DSST Stapleton or whatever on Montview, right? Kids cussing up. We would never cuss in front of adults. At least how I was raised. I would never cuss like openly or an earshot directly behind an adult. That's what these little black boys was doing. There was an elder black man in front of me who turned around and was like, are y'all tripping? Blah, blah, blah. He said whatever. These little kids got up ready to fight this old, probably 60-something-year-old black man.
That's a problem.
And he was ready for it. And in my head, I'm like, bro, like these kids. And it's sad that my mind goes to these kids might have guns. Like, you know what I'm saying? As an elder, he was doing what was right, but we dealing with a different dynamic now. These kids have access to so much stuff. And I wish in my heart that this man would have kind of backed down, but as a black man, that's against everything. He's like, oh, whip all these kids' ass. But we can't do that no more, because this could end tragically within our own community, because we don't have that community and rapport.
But why can't we start that again?
I was just
how do you do that
home for me?
In exactly that way. I mean, I think you hear kids, you at games and kids, wait a minute, who are you talking?
It's not the kids, right? It's the parent. How do I get the buy-in from the other parent? That's what I'm worried about.
I do that, for example, because I come in on kids all the time, and my way in that conversation is, I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm an educator. And that's like a softens. When I say it softens it up. Yeah. So like, why are you coming in? I'm sorry, it's just what I do for a living. My apologies. And when I do those kinds of things, it gets people off the defense. And so I think if you're giving people a reason, whatever your way is, to soften it for families, and you're like, I'm not trying to come at them, but this is just not working for whatever it is. Yeah. I think that's part of it.
So you being an educator, how much, you being in the system, how much power do you feel you have to change the culture, of the school to be ideal for the black student? How much power do you feel you have?
I think as a principal, I've been an assistant principal and a principal. I think as a principal, I have a lot of power to set what a vision is for a school. And so, I mean, the system still got to work based on after whatever I've designed. And so the ability to be able to respond, something happens, I can follow that up to try and create those conditions. It's not going to happen immediately, but I know that there is some power that I have in it.
Two questions.
Do you feel like you're doing that? I mean, and
it's killing me to do it. And that's the truth, right? Like,
it's killing you?
It's exhausting. It's the part of me that's a human, and all the parts that are made of my spirit, it breaks you down to see that. I do the work I do so that black and brown kids are successful, but it's exhausting work. And when you're talking about then you're like, okay, I'm gonna set up the system, I'm gonna do one in the morning, I'm gonna do one in the evening, so whoever families can show up. Right. And I'm missing time with my own family because I'm trying to make sure somebody else's family comes in, and then people are not there. Yeah. You're like, damn.
Right.
I want this to be successful. I do. This is my joy. This is why I'm doing what I do. So I think that there are parts, but the part of it is like, how do you have more dialogue? And I appreciate this because I think this is part of it, and not the coming at DPS, right? Like there is an element where we can break down a system or whatever the system is going to be. Right. But there are those of us who are in the buildings that need the love and to build back up. because you going to war every day. So you need people who are going to be able to do that. But if that conversation is missing and you're like, damn, I don't know if these people really have my back or not. You know, like I'm fighting on behalf of this, but I don't see people. You know, I just think that like having more space in which we can have conversations is important. You know, I think people always talk about Black teachers, but people rarely talk about Black principals or Black leaders.
Yeah.
That's a whole
What
other
was
kind
the
of
diversity
conversation.
of the school? How many schools have you been in the 7 years that you've been?
I've been in 4 schools here.
And what was the diversity in those schools? Was
They
it
were
mostly
all-
Black and brown children? Okay.
Yeah.
And then there was probably a good amount of white educators.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel as far as your rapport and training and dealing with the white educators? Do you feel like they were receptive and the things that you were implementing was being received and there was results? Or do you feel like it was like a lost cause?
No, I feel like for the most part, it's definitely well received. I mean, they're young people, right?
Yeah.
These are young
Super
teachers
young,
who come
yeah.
straight out of college who want to be successful, and they see that they're not successful. Their classrooms are not going the way that they want to. So I would say for the most part, you have people who want to do it, but it's going to take a whole systems, like a whole bunch of people to be involved in part of that process.
And then to carry with yours, so I had the flip. So it was predominantly Black. I went to a private school, so it was a whole different setup. But from the home that I came from, he like, you going and this is their job. You go what you're supposed to get done, and when that bell ring, you bring your butt out here and you come outside. I don't care. Like I'll come to what needs to be there, and I support you. But this no.
So,
and this is so I'm still this at home, and this is what you're supposed to do. Like I don't know, it was different.
I want to ask you this though, being not just a principal, a Black principal at that. How do you feel right now about, the talks
I got nervous. I was like,
the talks of them removing DPD from the schools. I mean, how do you feel about that?
I know this might be a very controversial.
We ready
position.
for it because you have a different perspective.
I think that. Again, I will always say I think conversations are important, and the reality of school shootings is real.
Definitely.
And so I think that this is a part of a conversation that no one is talking about in this moment,
exactly.
given where we are right now, right? And I
it needs
think
to
that,
be had, for sure.
and it needs to, right? I mean, it is terrifying to be. It's just truth. Like I have multiple drills a year where we teach kids and students what to do if somebody shoots. And we tell students that if you don't get in this first suite, you need to go stand on top of the toilet and cover your head, right? Like, so the reality of those kinds of things. And now you have a whole safety team that's kind of planning that. That I think that it's not just a immediate conversation, right? And I think that there are also situations where I'm like, the ways, like the policing that has happened that I've also seen that happened, it is problematic. Like, why you're not gonna come in here and start investigating this child? This is a baby.
Right.
And their mama's not in this room.
Right.
Stop.
Right.
And so that's like the kind of, and that's the real too. Like, no, we're not.
No.
I need a mom. Please call their mom, call their family, whatever. And so I don't think it's a yes or a no. I think it is. Let's sit down and bring very serious conversation to the table.
I definitely feel it's a discussion. I can't say that I'm just all for get rid of DPD.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know about that.
When you also have kids, I mean, like in Green Valley Ranch,
Report shootings,
like,
schools with no medical
I mean, it's a
detention,
tough
when
one.
there's schools
Because
that have,
Dominic
in
went to the school
Marbella,
where
in Green Valley Ranch,
like-
you got kids who are bringing guns, like, and just recently in this school year, with guns in the school, who are threatening the staff, like, that's a real life thing. And so, I mean, and just all over in the experience that I just, it's not an easy yes, no.
So you have my son went to Florida Pitt Waller where Brandon Pryor's son was when he got handcuffed as a second grader.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So many extremes. And it's just unfortunate that we have to be put in a position to make such a decision or have a stance on it because of all of these dynamics of school shootings and school to prison pipeline and all this stuff, right? How do we know what to do that's right for all of our kids? Because it's not even just my kids. When I think of my kid, I think of her kid, his kid, even the white people kids.
I agree.
Like,
but what's the research? I mean, we can look at the studies. There's data that's collected right here. What data did we use in making this decision?
Right.
And that's the part
so that's
that
important, taking the emotional out of the decision.
And again,
making.
like, I just think we got to have more of a discussion. When I think about what Black educators, families were talked with
before
before making this decision? Did we sit down and have a panel?
So
were you part of? You know what I mean? Like,
do you feel like who was making that outcry? Was it black people? Do you feel like it was white people? Do you feel like it was a mix? Who is calling for this? Because I feel like everything is so sensationalized right now that it's like, just do this.
I think it's a particular perspective. And I think that's where the dialogue is missing. Where are other voices? You hold one voice, and it's valid. Like, there is a policing. A child should, an itty bitty baby should never have to be put in handcuffs. What is the reasoning for that? Right. So I think that that's important. But who else is a part of this conversation before we make that kind of decision?
But I think from what I have been hearing, they were speaking of removing DPD, but placing some type of security or.
But they got rid of SROs, right?
School resource.
Well, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. I mean,
so is the job, obviously the police is the police, right? Do school resource officers have weapons? So to me, it's just like, in my mind, I'm like, the ideology and the training, it's all the same is how I look at it. So what's the difference from having an SR? Because I believe it might have been, was it a school resource officer that put Brandon's kid in the cuffs? I think it was. I don't even think it was police. But I don't know. Like, to me, the systematic is not just the police.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just like, I don't know. But
I mean, I think then also, like, I used to I served at Manual, right? And so, not at Manual High School, but there's a middle school there that I was a part of. And the SRO served a purpose for a time when things got challenging. Right? I mean, we talk about having, like, I don't know, I just think there's like not an underbelly, but there's like unspoken parts of our community in the ways in which we interact at times when we go into schools that no one wants to talk about.
So what's the talk?
Right? What's parents to come in and wild the hell out?
So that's a whole other thing, right? My child got in an altercation. My child was slammed against a brick wall and had a concussion at school. Now, I'm not one of them parents who's trying to really come up here and clown, but I was pissed off. He had to go to the ambulance and the whole nine. And when I asked the school, I need to talk to these parents, not even on some fighting or nothing. Like, this is problematic for me. They were like, we can't give you this information. We know that's just the rules, right? And their reasoning was, we've had parents come up in here acting a pure fool. And I was just like, dang, like, so to your point, like, it don't always go all nice and pretty like we think, right?
Yeah, I just think there's multiple layers to the conversation that don't seem like that it doesn't appear as if it happened.
So how, from an education standpoint, like, in a situation like that where you have two kids that were involved in an incident, somebody really got hurt bad, what duty does the school have? Like, I get it, right? People are crazy, and is there no duty to the school to try to bring those families together so that it could be amicable? Turns out this kid's mom actually knows me from high school. She was like, I didn't know it was you. She helped me pay the actually Medicaid or whoever covered it, right? But she was very apologetic and knew me. So I was like, had y'all just been able to do that?
I mean, it's also that goes back to a whole cultural thing. If you excitable, I'm excitable. I'm protecting my baby. I'm talking about my baby. I'm upset. Everybody's not ready to have that kind of conversation and say, wait a minute. All right, you gonna say your part? You say your part.
Yeah, it's not
Don't cut it off.
Thing.
And so you have to. It's not. That's a hard situation when people are upset.
So what about parents from the neighborhood? Becoming the guards in the school. What you feel about that? Kind of like a neighborhood watch thing, but the parents are the guards in the school. Bring
families, and we need to come in.
So there needs to be some kind of like community event, right? Because this first exposure for your kid to this random community person can't just be at the school. You know what I'm saying? Like, so how do we start doing? I know schools have done this because I've been in schools that do it, but like these community block parties or whatever. So these kids are exposed to whoever this is, so it's not foreign. The relationship building piece is so critical because for me, how I've been raised, I'm not going to ask something of you that I'm also not willing to do. I'm not going to be a certain way towards you that it's reciprocity. So I feel like people think that's a concept that kids don't understand, and maybe they don't know what it's called. But if you develop a relationship with a child and they actually feel like you care, not a false sense of care for, just for it to look good. If they actually, when I went to that meeting with Terrence Roberts and Lamumba Sayers, them kids was in there up at the Green Valley Rec, active little gang member kids, telling adults, y'all say y'all care, but when we need y'all, y'all are not here for us. And that broke my heart because I'm like, dang, they feel like some kids don't have a place to go at night. They, homeless kids, all that. Our kids do not feel supported. And if they do, I feel like you get a different end result.
So how, I want to switch it a little bit. How do you guys feel about mental health in schools? The importance.
I'll let you go first.
Maybe not necessarily just in schools though. The importance of mental health, because that's not really talked about. I know for sure I was never really
I feel like as a parent,
yeah.
like as a parent, right? We're so, especially, I feel like black parents. I can only speak from my perspective. We are so hard. I feel like it took me. My daughter, my oldest is 15. It took me like till she got older to realize I am so hard on her. How much does she hear me say, "You did well"? You know, we say this to the teachers, but as her mom, she also needs to hear that she's done something well for me consistently, frequently, because as a child, she should feel like she has successes. And if you don't have that from messaging from your parents, like it's hard for them to go out and even be successful in school or everywhere else. So I feel like the mental health aspect, my mom, I always like to say, feels like she realized the error of her ways. Like kids should have a voice, even though we didn't have that. You know what I'm saying? Kids are being seen and not heard. But I feel like the rapport you have to create with your kids is so detrimental to their mental health because they don't feel unsupported, right? Like now that my kids are teenagers, we talk about everything, sex, this, that. I think that is big on mental health because if they don't feel like there's a safe place, and even if it's not me, I'm okay with that not being me. If my daughter can go to Manhattan, like I know some parents who would feel away that their kid couldn't come to them, but they could go to their mama friend. But I had a friend of my mom's that was that person for me. So I feel like that's big on mental health because we don't know what situations our kids are exposed to. And if they don't feel like they got somebody, they're going to make decisions that they probably wouldn't normally make. So the mental health piece for me is just being open with my kids, making them feel like there's nothing you could come tell me. I've already, now that you said he's driving, right? My daughter's not driving yet because I haven't even gotten there, even though it's coming. Right, but I told her already, you're at that age where you're about to be going to parties. Like, I want you to have a normal teenage life. But there's also things that you're going to be exposed to that's a normal part of that process, drugs, sex. If you're ever in a situation where you feel like you're not safe, I promise you, call me. I'm not going to ask you nothing. If you don't want to talk about it, we don't got to talk about it, but I need you to know you can call me. Those certain reassurances, I think, do wonders for our kids' mental health, knowing that they can come to us with anything and they're not going to feel less than, reprimanded, demoralized, all those things.
I think when I think about mental health, I don't even think about the kids. I think we as Black people just don't talk about our own mental health.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
And so I feel like, you know, as adults, we are all battling something.
Right.
And so where we go to battle that and who we go to talk about it and what we do to process it, I think we have a whole lot of work to do. So we want to get to our kids when we're like unpacking stuff on them that we really need to unpack and sit with amongst us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was just so that opposite of having that privilege to go to a private school, that counseling was a whole different effect. But at the same time, I still come from a Black home to where it's like, what happens in this house stays in this house. So you better pay attention to what you say to this lady before they become my home. So being able to have that and still realize like, okay, wait, it is important, but okay, society, depending on what I say, and now these kids nowadays be like, you do something, I'd be like, I'll take the charge. So being able to know that balance and having that person, you know, to talk to. So, but yeah, I don't know, going to that private school, and it was important, and that stood out to me as a child. Like, I know my parents at home are like, they're not for it or whatever, but all right, when I go to school, this is cool. And so as an adult, I'm like, it's not so bad.
So do you feel go ahead.
I think that like another part where I would say I do think there's a gendered aspect to this, right? Like as Black women, our sister circles are places where we pour our soul.
For real.
Right?
Wouldn't have made it without the sister circles, for real.
And I think it's like designed to be that way.
Yeah.
I'm not a man, but I'm assuming like that maybe, I don't know, do men sit around and pour their soul, or is it designed to be that way?
No,
Because I think that's a gendered space.
And I feel we should. And actually, you know, just recently and lately, we're kind of starting to get to that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I was never taught, man. I wasn't never taught to go to therapy. Wasn't never taught to really just. Well, I will say, you know, my mom always told me, you know, I could talk to her or whatever. But you know, it's still kind of like,
It's different.
you know what I'm saying?
It's different.
But
especially
I never,
from a male perspective.
But I never ever thought about going to therapy. Never thought about sitting down with a counselor doing it. I mean, but I feel like now thinking back, I really should have.
But do
You know
you
what I'm
think
saying?
that, so this is the whole next level, right? I'm sure if you are watching this and you could tag on KTONE or AHRR, suppose if you're a black therapist, a black anything, doctor, please put your information, because I feel like
Definitely.
most people we're going to are white people. Do you really think these people can effectively counsel us when they have no idea of what we're doing?
But I think that if we ain't telling nobody else, we need to tell somebody.
Somebody,
Right?
So how
In that space. And yeah, I need to know, because my son recently just expressed that that's what he wants to go into, because he sees that void, and that just changed my whole perspective. He's like, Mama, I do feel like I could give an impact to that. Like, okay, well, let me make sure I keep you in those. Because for me, that therapy is, K-Tone, you know, I got these boys, your number's in their phone, and they're going to call you.
Yeah.
When,
Right.
like,
Or even
you
if it's
know,
like when it's you, like I know if it's me and I'm going through, I'm like, hey y'all, I need y'all to come over here. And so my daughters see that when something happens,
Right.
Mama calls her whole slew of
important.
women, and we just sit around and just process, and like, I might cry and I might do all those things. And I
Right.
think that then models for them also a process.
So
of
is that
like
how
what
you
to
take
do.
care of yourself? How do you take care of yourself?
I absolutely agree with you. When I was going through my divorce,
Ooh, honey.
I'm telling you, I honest to God swear, don't think I would have made it through that whole entire process without my close girlfriends. Because one, I let them be open to telling me what I didn't want to hear. It wasn't like, just give me, I'm not a yes man type of person. Don't just tell me what I want to hear. If I'm wrong or I need to change something or whatever, tell me that. It might be hard to hear or whatever, but I agree with you wholeheartedly. A lot of black women have them couple, 2, 3, whatever, however many friends. There's sometimes you don't even have to say it. Sometimes it might not even be a crisis. It's just like, can you come over? You want to come over or what? It might be like a low key cry for help because you just realize you need that company, right? But that, I promise you, that probably saved my life. No joke.
Oh, it definitely did. And I just think that as you talk about what the modeling is, I'm happy to hear that black men are doing that. You know, I didn't see. My dad is very much a part of my life, and I grew up in my house, and his friends would come over, and it was like, let's talk about this game. Let's talk about like there weren't, you know, you
the
kid
real
over here and
issues.
stuff. I ain't ever hear him talking about his
That's true.
what he's battling.
Right.
You know, and I think like that's something that I think that's a definite gender. There's a difference between
So
that.
Tona, like,
cry, I was like, oh, something real.
from a black man
my dad
perspective,
cry.
What's on?
right? From a black man's perspective, and I don't even want to like delve deep into people's personal situations, but as a black man, that counterpart being somebody, how important is it to you to have your counterpart being somebody that you can share whatever your day-to-day as a black man, not necessarily specific to your marriage or whatever, just your outside of your house experiences? How critical is that to have somebody to be that?
I mean, it's very critical. I mean, you know, you want somebody you could really just vent to and you know, get it all out and be able to talk to, and you know, even just get the advice and feedback and encouragement from. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times, shoot, we just bottle that stuff up.
And that's the thing. Like, as black men and women, I feel like it's harder for us because we battling extra stuff. The marriage is hard, right? Marriage is hard.
Oh yeah.
I've done it, right? So you got that, and then you got all the outside stuff on top of that. So I feel like just the pressure and weight of that, I feel like it causes like that gap, the separation between spouses or whatever, because you just have way too much going on, and you don't want to unleash and take out on the other person all of your day and things happening. So how do you do that,
So
like, safely? I don't know. Like,
But I think that's why there should be these men and women groups. Like your partner should be someone you also do that with, but you should have other people. So you don't just think that that's the only person.
Right.
So how much weight and pressure do you put on that one person to deal with that?
I feel for, you know, just for men though, and for men, I think we just gotta we just gotta put our ego aside, and we gotta get over our pride of, you know, to talk to, like, man, I ain't gonna talk to him. We gotta get over that. You know what I'm saying? I think that's our problem. You know what I mean? We don't really just like opening up. We feel it's weak. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But like I said, you know, lately I think a lot of us have really been doing that though, or trying to do that for each other. You know what I'm saying?
And
And
is
feeling
it-
secure in that.
is
and not
that a
feel
thing
like
that
they're
you-
trying to take from you? And so I feel like that's what men deal with too. Like, if I don't open up to you, you don't try to come in because you know my weakness. So this is like your animalistic nature's like, hold up, nah, I can't show you that because that's gonna let you know you can come in that way. Like,
Is that something out that y'all need? Sometimes I feel like women don't realize when we need to step back. There's some stuff that we can't do, right? So is that something that you don't necessarily need women's? Because I feel like as women, we're supportive. Like, yes, we want y'all to be blah, blah, blah. We feel like y'all need to let your guard down, whatever. Is this something y'all need women to fall back from and just do this, you know, the
Just
silent support? Because I feel like a lot of black women are like, come on, talk to me, open up, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? We need to just let y'all do that amongst yourselves. Just fall back.
Just listen. But I mean, I think if you know your spouse, if you just gotta listen. You already know. Yeah, every man is different.
Because he might not talk. That listen might be look. So you gotta pay attention to those signs, like, so paying attention.
Listen, pay attention, listen. That's it. I don't know. I think that was a lot for today. But like you said, listen. If there is any counselors, therapists, or whatever, black therapists,
for real,
please put your info up. We're gonna share this again. The video is gonna be up. People can go back and watch this. So please share your info, and we want to share the info. And I think there's a lack of that in our community, and we really want to get that out there. And wrapping up the show, is there anything that you ladies would want to say? Any last words?
Thank you, KTONE, because this is my front line.
Right.
This is how I go and stand up to
my resistance.
Like,
I feel you.
So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
And I also think that like what you just said is everybody's position of like battle is not the same. We can't all be warriors fighting on the battlefield. Each one of us has a different position to play. Definitely. And that there's like comfort in that, because I think there could be pressure to be standing somewhere protesting, and we all have our role to play and what that means to us. And I don't think we should succumb or like feel like we need to do it this way only.
Nah. And we've been talking about that too. Like everybody's front line is different. Yeah. I'm not gonna be downtown in the mix.
I saw a lot of that during the little protests. Like a lot of my black friends who were like, cool, like, where y'all at? Y'all at home on the couch? Like, and I was like really offended. Like, what? Like, and I tried not to argue with people, but I just peacefully bowed out. But I'm like, don't get it twisted. Everybody has their position to play. There's so many roles that are influential, from policing to attorneys to educators. Every end of the spectrum can be impacted. 100%. And if you're that person at the rally and the protest and whatever you're doing, that's cool. But please realize that every piece is important to the puzzle. Yep. And the supportiveness, we gotta come together. Definitely. Like, that's the main thing.
We'll buy you out when you're down and get to jail.
Right, if we're all in jail, who's coming to help you out?
So can we start what we was talking about earlier with the parents and the school? I mean, can we start a group?
I would love there to be a group.
So we can talk offline to figure out.
Yes, because I would say that is something that I'm like, that's my heart of my research. Is
well, first of all, before we even start a group, before we go, what's the update with the schools? Like, what are they talking about? Are the kids going to really go back? Are they not going to go back?
I know, right?
They won't know. I mean, there is a lot of different things on the table right now. The final decision won't be made probably until like weeks before school starts. Right now, it's a proposal to be a hybrid of both, because the safety rules are saying only half of the kids can be in the building at a time. So half of the students at one day will be in the building and half will be online. Families if you're part of DPS, you should have received surveys to decide what's going to be, what was your preference around what that hybrid model could look like. But it will be some sort of hybrid.
It's tough because I'm one of them parents. I'm like 100% at home. I'm like, I'm cool with that,
I'm
right?
fine, yeah.
But I don't have young kids, so earlier today I had to think like I don't got toddlers, I don't got kindergartners. That's what I'm saying. Not even a lot of work. A lot of people don't have the option to stay at the house. They can't work at home. Like, so I had to like kind of dial back my little biased stance. Like, no, at the house, it's the safest.
So digital online showcase, we're gonna wrap it up. But give everybody your info real quick. Where they can find you, how they can follow you, whatever. My bad. Right? I meant to say that the first time. Social media? You want
my social media, you can connect with me to Instagram is Nat Zainani, NATZENANI.
You can find me at Kira TKO, which will soon be switched over to Rivera. Not to confuse y'all, but yes, you can find me on Instagram at Kira TKO. I might not have Facebook for very much longer.
Okay.
And I am Ms. Manhatan, the promo queen. MZMANHATAN.
One
There's
T.
only one T. There's only one me. And Even when you put that, my real name will pop up on Facebook, but it still shows Miss Manhattan. And then you see some other things I got going on. But yeah, Miss Manhattan, the promo queen going.
And make sure y'all come if y'all need video services and whatnot. I'm sure Tux is gonna plug it or whatever. But it's high quality.
I know that's
They're
right.
prepared. The lighting is on point. If you have a business, a church, or whatever it might be, y'all need to get in contact with AHRR page. That's the page name on Facebook. Because we need to support all the black businesses.
I know that's right.
All of them. And not specific to black businesses. If you know some white people who need it, we got you.
Follow our network, the R page, AHRR page. Follow them right now.
That was KTONE.
And at DJ KTONE, at DJ SQUIZZY Taylor, Digital Online Showcase. We'll be back next week. And officialdjktone.com and find out where I'm at all week. Appreciate y'all.
All right, boys and girls, ladies and gents, hogs and hags, players and playettes. Welcome back to The Issue, your guide to music, arts, and entertainment. From my town to your town, from the mainstream to underground. Join us as we push the issue.
Hey, listen, man. Mike told me to kill you niggas, bro. I got you like I'm finna kill these niggas, bro. I feel like I should.
It's Mike Nitty on the slap, tell him.
Yeah, let's be. Dearly beloved, I was gathered here today to shit on niggas. I'm done with the plan. Lay the jeans down and start spreading you niggas. I'm about to get with it. Don't know see it, but I'm about to get vicious. No sitcom, but it's all of my children. Pull up to the visit with all of my children. Get it? I'm not playing with you rapping actors. My rope dope mean like Muhammad Cassius. Give it okey-doke and I'ma smash you bastards. Daily with the flow and you can call me cancer. I don't need the love, I just need the plug. That's just what it is, never what it was. Pull up with the left with the do you need to get to it, cuz? Crafty with the wordplay. It's recess how I play with words. You should know by now. I get real mad when I swing on verbs. I'ma get up and re-up and hit up a zone. I'ma change up and hit her to see if she's home. I'ma pull up then pull out then give her the bones. If she up then we up, that's what you call home. Ain't no asking nigga, I'm straight gassing niggas. I be after figures by the master niggas. I cut for you if you cut with me. I'm a buck for you if you buck with me. Grab the chalk, homie, let's play hopscotch. Make a double dutch with this heat rock. Let it breathe. Let's go. Yeah. Give me the booth, give me the mic, and I'ma rip it up. Mangle it, tangle it, bang it when I beat it up. These niggas think they know me, but they really don't. A nigga say, tell me what he really want. Phenomenal with the flow and the record shit. These suckers get out of bounds, so mamas are checking shit. Niggas swear they want it, but I know you don't want it. I promise you, pilot, we popping at your poopies if you really want it. I'm a real life chopper, got a homie named Chopper. You can meet me in the set, local, chop it up. Or I can catch a nigga slipping like an engine. This is stitch, guaranteed to lift a bitch, nigga frame up. I'm back on my bullshit, full clip. All they heard was I when I pulled this. I'll break a nigga jaw when I swing this. I'll be in and out of pussy like a swing shift. But I'm bum, it's the sound of the drum. People standing in the amazement when I break it out. But I put body for body before mine. Screaming out Bill side when Tuli out. I'm from 46th Avenue, I damage you a real torch nigga, so I'm coming with an attitude. Sucker on the faded, I'ma show you what these hammers do. Biblical with the flow and I'm the law like the Beatitudes. Posted on my pinnacle, been a fool. Give me the one-on-one and I'ma show you like an interview. Very dedicated, so your markets keep on hating. I'm in funeral arrangement, told pickers I'ma bury you. I'ma make it to the top of local promise. Keep it rich rolling, but I'm linked up with some options. From Rivera to England, from folk back to the nickel. From me over 87 cause I'm gas instrumentals. No subliminals, I'm at you niggas. Keep it wrapped up like an ankle, I'ma spat you niggas. Not talking Nick Cannon when I pull up with the cannon. I'ma chain my fucking kings when I charm around the nigga.
Right, nigga.
Shit, man. These niggas got this new shit on Spotify, all this shit. Look, they got new album cover and shit, man. You know these niggas? Tycoon?
Oh, the Tycoon brothers?
Two? What? Who the fuck is this niggas, man?
Man, I hate them niggas. I remember them niggas was MNLD. They think they hard.
Then they got YouTube.
Don't fuck them old ass niggas. Nigga, you see me over here, these my band niggas.
The mechanics.
You about no MNLD, no motherfucking Tycoon brothers, nigga. What about me, nigga? Nigga K-Roll just got out taking my bitches. Shit.
Interstate I, every day's payday. Bullets jumping out of the barrel doing the nay-nay.
Get your money, let your dollars build. Her pussy so wet that it came with a water bill. My nigga Peely got the Maybach baby model. My name in they mouth like a baby bottle. It was me, Tiny Cat, and Kente. Reppin' the 5-5 like the Kimbe. Baby bro and them with me when we got a concert. That 40 thing sound like a rocket launcher. No pizza, but we handing pepperonis out. I hit Gator and slid by Mama Tony house. Counting hundreds with the little face. On pillow talk, I hide money in the pillowcase. Little nigga, but my cash tall. I kept it 100 like a fastball.
Kept it 100 since day one. Never pillow talk or conversation. 25 to life for this information. There's some money over bitches operation. Ain't no squares in my circle. Ain't no squares in my circle. Oh no. Ain't no squares in my circle. Ain't no squares in my circle. Oh no.
Sliding on niggas like home plate. Why you think the homies call me HK? Fuck recess, nigga, no play. We slapping bitch niggas like anime. Miss me with that hoe nigga rhetoric. When it come to sucker shit, I'm celibate. What you need, little nigga, we selling it. And ain't no squares in my circumference. I'm the shooter, nigga, fuck a hit. On the set, I just do it for the love of it. Been knocking niggas down since 9-6. So what you telling that bitch is irrelevant. Niggas got funk, didn't settle it. I don't talk, nigga, I just let metal spit. I'm trying to touch another kilo. And that's 1 + 2 0.
Kept it 100 since day one. Never pillow talk or conversation. 25 to life for this information. There's some money over bitches operation. Ain't no squares in my circle. Ain't no squares in my circle. Oh no. Ain't no squares in my circle. Ain't no squares in my circle.
The club's high five when the rock man slide. They frowns all turn upside down cause they hot. Don't run off with my money, don't fuck up my supply. Got my pepper cock bag, no more Mr. Nice Guy. 99 bottles of tequila on the wall. Your baby mama gon' call and the panties gon' fall. Such a succubus, put it in her jaw. Stash my Yola in the coochie and she never told the law. A diamond in the rough, a needle in the haystack. I'm still standing in the kitchen whipping up a batch. My nigga gotta sit down, I'm picking up the slack. I need no squares around me, I gotta flip another sack. It's rumbles in the Impala, it's leather in the lack. Tell them lame ass niggas they need to fall the fuck back. I grab the microphone, them hoes don't know how to act. I'm a 5-5 gritter, man, what they know about that?
Kept it 100 since day one. Never pillow talk or conversation. 25 to life for this information. There's some money over bitches operation. Ain't no squares in my circle. Ain't no squares in my circle. Oh no. Ain't no squares in my circle. Ain't no squares in my circle.
The fiends knocking on the window. I'm putting money in the shoebox. My stash house in the boondocks. Clocking everything, sliding in the area. You niggas not solid, you don't meet the criteria. Move around, we ain't tapping in with you. Niggas be acting like they doing something in they pictures. Lying about the money they making, impressing bitches. Never moved the gram, never been in no trenches. What you saying, we against all odds and all that. Niggas mad cause the hoes asking where the mob at. What you doing? Having money, popping bottles, fucking bitches. What you tell them? All you broke niggas, stay up out my business. All the hustlers got the mob on replay. Fuck the club, I let the bitches be the DJ. They be bouncing up and down saying hi. Tryna get a homie some for JJ.
Kept it 100 since day one. Never pillow talk or conversation. 25 to life for this information. There's some money over bitches operation. Ain't no squares in my circle. Ain't no squares in my circle. Oh no. Ain't no squares in my circle.
Hello? Easy on the track. You will not be charged for this call. This call is from Mark. If you say that, it's federal equipment. This call is being recorded and is subject to monitoring. Hang up to decline the call or to accept. Dial 5 now. If you wish to block any...
What up? What up?
Woke up out my sleep, I had another dream about Lil Let. Selling birds, getting money, about to cop the matching vets. To them people ran up on us, warrants out and guns drawn. Telling us that we ain't never, ever, ever going home. Solo in the feds, cause they caught him with some chickens. Lil 30 in interrogation, still snitching, and the Bronco got shot. So the east side is hot. FBI each other plate. Trigger happy, no plug, and my big homie's gone. What the fuck you think I'm finna do? Aim at niggas down. My lawyer say he want them 30 racks. I gave him 23. Told him please don't let them white people come and bury me. 10 toes down in the street, so I refuse to snitch. Cause Barbara Joe and Birdman Petey, they ain't raise a bitch. We got older and the circles got smaller. Robin Jr. both bitches, 10 to 10 a real baller. Just recognize the pedigree. I represent that letter C, and if I run into you, I might catch another felony. Boss face gone, and I wish that I could talk to him. Tone low in the wheelchair, wish I could walk with him. My uncle Green Eyes got charged on a cold case. Since he lost in trial, he got an L. That's a cold fate. After all the shit he done, I know the good outweigh the bad. He put my whole family on. Couldn't have been a better dad. Lil Kirk lost his life and turned into a street legend. Auntie Sherry praying for me that I get to see heaven. Came back from the pen. If you didn't ride, then please don't call me now. My chain is back to frosty now. Money's all I'm talking about. My dream worth millions. My nightmares are federal. So when it's beef, I stir the pot. Turn my ops to vegetables. Eastern Conference Baller of the Year. I put up Kobe numbers. I be telling Chase to chill, but he shoot like a Kobe jumper. Niggas say they run the city. Sorry, well I beg to differ. Rain, sleet, or snow. Place an order. Tana gon' deliver. Necklace make me wanna shiver. Shoot at bodies, not at Twitter. Niggas say I ain't the trap. These racks will make them reconsider.
An inmate at a Colorado Correctional Facility. For customer assistance, billing inquiries, or to block future calls, dial 1-877-650-4249. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, thank you for using Global Tel Link.
What's up, little bro?
I'm 10 Piece.
Hi, 10.
I'm addicted to sex, weed, party.
Yeah. Ooh, 10 Piece. If I keep fucking bitches, I'll be dead soon. Used to fucking bitches in my dead room. I'm so high and drunk, I need a bed soon. If I keep sipping liquor, I'll be dead soon. I'll be dead soon. If I keep fucking bitches, I'll be dead soon. I'll be dead soon. If I keep sipping liquor, I'll be dead soon. If I keep sipping liquor, I'ma die soon. Fucking with my money, you gon' die too. Tell the truth, nigga, you been lied to. Take her body count and multiply too. I'm drinking, getting high too. Now there's smoke up in my nose and in my eyes too. And I'm really not a shy dude. Talk slick, that nigga pop up and surprise you. I'm with Fred, I'm with Chice too. Getting bread, getting my loot. Getting head, getting thighs too. Bitch, I never said you was my boo. Fucking something we done a lot. And I've been drinking since like 1 o'clock. Bitches with some pills they wanna pop. Nigga, we got a problem, I don't wanna stop. If I keep fucking bitches, I'll be dead soon. Used to fucking bitches in my dead room. I'm so high and drunk, I need a bed soon. If I keep sipping liquor, I'll be dead soon. I'll be dead soon. If I keep fucking bitches, I'll be dead soon. I'll be dead soon. If I keep sipping liquor, I'll be dead soon.
If I keep fucking bitches, I'll be dead soon. I used to fuck them bitches in the bedroom. Now they lucky if they make it to the hallway. Hella faded, I've been drinking liquor all day. And I can't trust a bitch or a fuck nigga. You don't know me if I ain't rolling up with you. Fuck who hating, gotta watch the ones in love with you. Cause when you're down, they'll barely see what's up with you. Working too hard, need a rave. Been cooking too long, need a plate. The way I kill shit, need a case. Young niggas really tryna be the greats. Shorty look good, but her head sloppy. She don't call me nothing if it's not poppy. Watch her bring it back like a disc jockey. Got my shine on time like my wrist rocky.
If I keep fucking bitches, I'll be dead soon. Used to fucking bitches in my dead room. I'm so high and drunk, I need a bed soon. If I keep sipping liquor, I'll be dead soon. I'll be dead soon. If I keep fucking bitches, I'll be dead soon. I'll be dead soon. If I keep sipping liquor, I'll be dead soon.
That was a cold segment of the issue there. Let me tell you that if you enjoyed that vibe, go ahead and keep tuning in because we're going to be here every single week just for y'all. Also, go ahead and submit your content to ournetwork@gmail.com.